Welcome back, everyone. This is the Jiggy and Joe show. And did you notice I actually started this time? We're switching things up. You never know. I'm Joe.
Howard. I'm Max.
And today we're going to be talking about the NFL draft. The NFL draft that just happened. Okay. First thoughts, Max, what did you think about it? Just like
the draft, I thought this was probably one of the craziest drafts I've ever watched. That first night was I've never seen anything like it, and it actually lived up to really the rest of the NFL offseason that we've seen up to this point.
Yeah,
just crazy trades, crazy movement around the league, and the NFL's king. And we showed that this weekend.
And I actually predicted that. I don't know if I think it was in the was it in the Vernon podcast that I talked about how this is going to be the most unpredictable draft in years?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, you did.
Exactly. Yeah. So I kind of predicted it. I don't know. But I just thought that was going to happen. And most
praise,
analysts, I might have to
more. No, don't. No.
Okay. So, I mean, where do we even get started, right?
So if you want to share your screen first, let's see your draft. We're going to rank.
Hold on. I think we should talk about the Jets first, right?
If you say so.
It's only fair. I am a Jets fan. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Jets draft first, and then we're going to get into our tier list that we did, that we're going to do, but we actually did a QB tier list in the previous one. So we're going to do a tier list of just like the NFL teams ranking their drafts. Okay.
Jets. Joe, what do you think of the Jets draft?
Amazing. I think this was the best draft for the Jets in years. I think since 2000, it honestly was the best draft, I think. First pick that we got, Sauce Gardner. What do you think about him?
I love it. Was my favorite corner in this draft. And I was very surprised that he was the second corner taken.
Yeah, I was very surprised with Derek Stingley, the injury-prone cornerback, getting taken at number 3. I was like, okay, here's my thought process.
I think that was a bit of a reach.
Yes. As you could tell from the last podcast, or I forgot which podcast it was, I was like, I want Thibodeau. That's my number one guy. That's who I want. I want to get to the quarterback. Boom, boom, boom. And then I was like, all right, Sauce Gardner, number 2, he's on my list. You know, I'd be happy as well to get him.
Mm-hmm.
Aiden Hutchinson got picked at number 2, which I was pretty upset, but I was kind of predicted it. Trayvon Walker, I thought was really surprising. And I think you had him in your mock draft that you said, right?
Yeah,
you had Trayvon Walker number 1.
I did. I knew the Jaguars would do this because Trent Baalke did this back in San Francisco when he was working with the 49ers as an assistant. They always drafted players based on athletic ability and traits. And he did that again in Jacksonville with the number 1 pick, and we'll see how that turns out. The draft's an inexact science, but
yeah. How do you feel about that? How do you feel that they drafted Trayvon Walker over Aiden Hutchinson?
It's so hard to tell right now. But if I was them, I would, with the number 1 pick, you have to take the surefire NFL player. Like, I'm going to compare Hutchinson to Nick Bosa, Joey Bosa,
that's what I think too.
TJ Watt type of guy. We don't know if he's going to turn into that, but I think he played in college like that type of player. And I feel like that will translate to the NFL. With Trayvon Walker, he's more of like a unicorn, so to speak, where you can line up anywhere on the defense, linebacker, defensive end, defensive tackle. But in the NFL, like I said on the pre-draft show, he's not going to be able to out-muscle NFL left tackles, right tackles, wherever he lines up. He's going to need those football fundamentals and techniques to get him where it needs to be. And I feel like that's what Hutchinson was great at, was the fundamentals and the techniques of football. And Hutchinson also didn't test terrible. He tested pretty well. And so we'll see how Trayvon Walker's game translates to the NFL, and we'll see how he develops.
I thought it was very surprising, and I thought I feel like I underestimated how many University of Georgia players getting drafted in this draft.
Yeah.
Wow. Like many. What, Devin Lloyd, Nakobe Dean got. We'll talk about that later.
Yeah, that Eagles got a steal. Let's just say
Eagles
that.
definitely got a steal, but I mean, we never knew the situation, so I was very surprised when the Jets didn't pick him in the second round. Okay. Anyway, I want to go back to the thought process of drafting Gardner.
Mm-hmm.
As we know, Trayvon Walker went number 1, Aiden Hutchinson number 2, and then Derek Stingley number 3. I thought in my head, I'm like, we need Thibodeau. That's what we need.
Yeah.
And then Roger Goodell came up and announced the New York Jets select Ahmad Sauce Gardner. And at first I was surprised. I was like, okay, I like it. And then like 10 minutes later, I'm like, we got our next Revis. We got him.
I mean, that kind of we got our next Revis. That's I think it's a little early to say that because he hasn't even stepped on the field yet. Or even put on a Jets helmet.
I know.
So I would pump the brakes on that a little bit, but I do think he's going to be a solid pro. And
I think he's going to be a Pro Bowler.
I think he's the best corner in this draft. And then you hit on that one.
Definitely.
But with Stingley, going back to Stingley for a second, had trouble staying healthy in college. Texans take him at number 3. I think that's kind of like the J.C. Horn, Patrick Surtain draft last year, where Horn went right before Surtain, 1 and 2, and Carolina took Horn, and Horn broke his foot 4 weeks into the season.
Yeah.
And Surtain ended up being the better corner. So I feel like that's going to be like that kind of situation, but hopefully Stingley can stay healthy. And if he proves to stay healthy, I think he's going to be an elite pro, and so is Gardner. I think both can have elite NFL careers, successful NFL careers, if both stay healthy.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, you never know what J.C. Horn is going to be in the NFL. You never know. He might be elite in the coming seasons. You never know.
Yeah, if J.C.'s going to be back healthy this season, and that's going to be a big win for the Panthers.
It's too early to tell.
No.
And okay, so I think we should talk about the top 10, right? Since we're already here. And then Thibodeau, which I'm not surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And then who was number 6? That was Ikemi Konwu, right?
Yeah.
I think it was
yep. And then Evan Neal were right after him.
I was surprised that Malik Willis wasn't drafted.
I wasn't. We heard all offseason that the quarterback class was weak, and this was probably one of the weakest that the draft has seen in years. And we've heard a bunch of stuff up until the draft night of expect Malik to go 6 to the Panthers. Panthers are interested in Malik, or Panthers are interested in Pickett, or the Steelers want to trade up and get into the top 10 and grab one of these quarterbacks. I feel like that was just smokescreen to get them to fall. I mean, I don't know if that was smokescreen, but I feel like that was just agent driven. And I feel like the talent evaluators in the NFL, the GMs, the scouts, earlier in the offseason is when probably you get the most accurate information on these draft prospects, because you're not getting a lot of smoke screens leading up to the draft.
That's true.
And we should have probably listened the first time, and the media probably should have also listened the first time. And we're guilty of this too. Like I had, I believe I had Kenny Pickett going to the Panthers at 6, my mock draft right before the draft. And I was guilty of it too. I fell into the trap, and now we know that the best time for information on these prospects is in the beginning of the offseason.
Yeah, and I had a thought that Malik Willis and Kenny Pickett was actually going to go in the top 10. I thought one was going to go to the Panthers and one was going to go either to the Steelers or the Seahawks.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wasn't too surprised after the top 10, but once they got into the 3rd round and Malik Willis wasn't drafted, I was like, wow, like this man's just kind of a steal, to be honest, first round talent. But the quarterbacks weren't that talented this year, as scouts noted.
This was the first time only one quarterback was taken in the draft since 97, I believe I saw today. Like that statistic I saw.
And I like that too. I kind of like that different positions are getting drafted.
You're not going to see that very often. This is an outlier year. This is a very weak quarterback class, but next year's going to be very strong. And you're going to see Bryce Young and CJ Stroud coming out, and they're going to be 1 and 2 next year. In the 2023 NFL draft.
Really depends how he does next year, but I think he might be up there. Okay, so let's go to number 7. The Giants drafting Evan Neal, and I was not surprised that they needed a lineman. And I think they're either going to go for Ikonru or Evan Neal, and they chose Evan Neal. So
they chose the best left tackle on the board at that point.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised. He's a really good player. I would have chosen him too if I was number 7.
Yep.
Okay. For the Falcons, they
freakishly athletic, by the way. Sorry to cut you off, but Evan Neal is freakishly athletic.
We posted on our story of what he can do. And
follow Jiggy and Joe show, by the way. We need more followers.
It's all right though. We just started, so we're not surprised. Okay. For this one, I feel like this is the first bust pick, and that's Drake London. What do you think about him?
You think?
I think so.
It's a bold take, Joe.
It's a bold take, but I think he's the first bust of this draft that was taken.
I disagree.
He's not speedy enough. He can't get past the corner, and doing that, like, sure, he could be compared to Brandon Marshall or something like that. But honestly, I don't think it's going to work in today's NFL. I think speed wins, as you can see, Tyreek Hill, all these other speedy receivers that have success in the NFL, and I don't think Drake London is that receiver that can help. And also,
do you remember Jake London's 40 time?
I do not remember. No, I didn't look at that.
Well, Cooper Kupp ran a 4.7, right?
Okay.
Drake London might not be the fastest, but he runs good routes.
That's true, but I think 40-yard dashes are kind of overrated in my opinion. Sure, they could tell how fast the person is, which is a good indication. But I feel like they should be like running with like a football or something to get it more predictable. But that's just me. Wasn't Tyreek Hill's 40-yard time not as good as he usually is?
No, we had a solid 40. Solid 40. Yeah. So on the Drake London topic, I feel like he's gonna be a really, really solid NFL wide receiver.
I was wrong.
Yeah.
4.29.
Yeah. I feel like Drake London's gonna be a really, really, really solid NFL wide receiver. I think he was justified to go to the Falcons at that number.
Okay, but I disagree.
I feel like with Kyle Pitts and Drake London, that's going to be a lethal. And Cordell Patterson moving it, you can move him around the offense, move him into the slot, move him in the backfield. You can put him anywhere in the offensive formation, and he's going to produce. So I feel like that's going to be a very, very, very good offense this year.
But he's definitely not the best receiver in the draft.
What'd you say?
I don't think he's the best receiver in the draft.
I don't think he's the best receiver in the draft either. I think Jameson Williams was the best receiver in the draft.
Yeah, so why would you think the Falcons took him? I mean, there were 2 other receivers that were better than him.
Why didn't they take Jameson Williams?
Why didn't they take Jameson Williams? Why didn't they take Garrett Wilson?
I think some teams were afraid of the ACL for Jameson Williams.
All right, but didn't Drake London have an injury that people were concerned about?
I don't remember. That's a good question.
I'm pretty sure he had an ankle injury. I'm not mistaken.
I think you're right. I think he did have something last season, but he still had a lot of production at USC. He showed that he can go up and get balls. He showed he can contort his body to make the tough throws. I mean, to make the tough catches.
Yeah.
He has great body control. I feel like that's going to translate to the NFL game, and he just needs and hopefully Arthur Smith has the right system to put him in, and he's going to be successful.
Yeah, and you have seen it in the NFL too with like Mike Evans, Mike Williams, like those type players.
Yeah.
But I don't know if he'll live up to that hype at all. That just depends. And also with the quarterback situation, we really don't know with Desmond Ridder getting drafted.
Right. I feel like the Falcons had a good draft. I feel like I will put them in the B category. I feel like there's no rush to start Desmond Ridder day one with Marcus Mariota there. Let him sit behind Marcus for a year, learn. I feel like they have similar games, Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder.
Yeah.
I feel like they're going to be used a similar way in the NFL. So we'll see what Desmond Ridder does in year 2, unless Marcus Mariota comes in and just stinks it up. Like, I feel like there's no rush to start Desmond Ridder until he's actually ready, because it's a rebuilding year for the Falcons anyway.
Yeah, true. Do you know what round Desmond Ridder was drafted in? Was it third?
3.
3. Yeah. Okay. So that was kind of a I mean, I guess that's where all the quarterbacks went too. So
yeah, Malik Willis went to Tennessee, and he's going to sit behind Ryan Tannehill for a year,
which I like. I like that these quarterbacks.
I like that's going to be a good fit.
I like that these quarterbacks are getting these that got drafted are getting these backup roles, so that most quarterbacks in today's league, in today's society, is getting put on the starting offense right away, week 1, and that's what's kind of like ruining everything, like the quarterback kind of, because and also people are already throwing Zach Wilson away. They're kind of throwing Trevor Lawrence away. They're like, oh, they suck. But they've only been a year in the offense, and they're rookies. And I mean, for the Jets specifically, everyone on the team was young. The coach was brand new coach. Michael LaFleur, that just went into a new system, even though we kind of have the same system as the 49ers, but it's still the same, kind of the same thing. And I don't know. You just got to give him a chance. I give him 2 or 3 years, and that's where I determine where if he's a bust or not.
You think? Oh, yeah. Okay, never mind. I thought you would say something else. Okay. Yeah, no. I agree.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna go through the top 10 picks, and then we're gonna go into the tier. Number 9, Charles Cross. I thought it was a pretty good pick. I think I put him in my mock draft. I
like Charles Cross a lot. He was the best. He was the 3rd best tackle, and the Seahawks needed a left tackle after Dwayne Brown hit free agency this past offseason, and they're gonna need somebody to protect Drew Lock. Or I don't think they're gonna trade for anybody between now and week 1. Do you?
No, unless they get, I don't know, Baker or something.
Baker. I mean, did you hear the Carolina and Baker rumors over the weekend?
Yeah,
they were like,
that was crazy.
That almost happened. Yeah.
Wasn't Steve Smith? Steve Smith wasn't a fan of that.
No, and neither was Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, he was like no, like they posted on Twitter a video of them. Yeah, that was funny.
So with Baker Mayfield, I want to touch on that for a second. They just to clarify, Carolina and the Browns were in talks for a trade with Baker on day 2 of the draft that came out. There's a little buzz about it today, but that was the buzz, like the reports of the buzz of that happening sizzling out, because the Panthers didn't want to take on Baker Mayfield's $19 million salary. Yeah. I think the Browns wanted them to pay a huge chunk of the salary. And I feel like teams are trying to get the Browns to pay Baker Mayfield's, maybe if they pay $17 million of that salary and that team pays maybe $2 million of the $19 million, that will get the trade done, because no team wants to pay. I mean, can you blame them? Would you pay Baker Mayfield $19 million for next season?
No, I feel like he's proven that he's underwhelming as a quarterback, especially with that Browns team. Remember in 2019 when that Browns team was so talented, and even so Nick Chubb, all these. Shame. Yeah, the O-line was pretty good. They had Kareem Hunt, the duo running back situation. That was crazy. Yeah. And, they had OBJ, that all this promise, Jarvis Landry, everyone.
Greg Ward, Grant Delpit in the back.
Yeah. That Browns team I thought was destined to go to the AFC Championship or Super Bowl.
Yeah, they Greedy Williams on the other side.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. That team was destined to go to the Super Bowl, but Baker Mayfield wasn't that quarterback.
Baker Mayfield was holding him back. And now the Browns have Deshaun Watson, and I feel like they had I feel like they had a decent draft. I feel like they could have done more on the offensive side of the ball to bring in weapons. I love David Bell out of Purdue, who they drafted in the 3rd round, I believe.
Wait, did you say the Panthers? You said the Panthers?
No, I'm talking about the Browns. I'm talking about the Browns with Deshaun.
Browns.
So yeah, the Browns drafted David Bell, I believe in the 3rd round. I might be mistaken. If you could check that for me. And David Bell didn't kill the combine. He didn't have great testing numbers. He didn't have a great 40 time. I think he ran 4.7. But David Bell runs good routes. David Bell knows how to get open. And I feel like he's a very, very intelligent football player.
99th pick.
That is going to translate to the NFL game. And I feel like he's more of a Cooper Kupp comparison in terms of the testing numbers and his football IQ. And I feel like that's very important, especially when you get to the third and fourth rounds and guys don't have great testing numbers, but they knew how to get open in college and run good routes. I feel like that's way more important than athleticism and testing numbers. If this guy runs a 4.2 but like has trouble running routes and doesn't run great routes, this guy's never gonna be open in the NFL against these NFL corners. And a guy who might not be as fast but runs good routes is gonna make it in this league.
Yeah, and I think as you kind of explained that the NFL Combine is kind of overrated, in which it really drops players if they do bad in the Combine. And
I don't think it's overrated. I feel like there's a need for the Combine in terms of getting to know the player as a person. I feel like for the wide receivers, I feel like the vertical is very important to see their see how high they can jump to see if they can high point the ball in the NFL, if that can translate, to see their size, to see them run in person. I feel like that's very important. But I feel like the 40-yard dash times are being a little, I guess, looked at a little too closely.
Yeah,
because I feel like if its receiver runs good routes, then if let's say, okay, receiver runs good routes, DB doesn't have great, let's say a DB runs like a 4.4, 4.5, right?
Yeah.
He might not be the quickest guy as you would want in a DB. A 4.4 is a very solid, very, very solid speed for a DB. But I feel like when you're in the 4.5 range, I think you're dropping around. And I feel like in the NFL, with the pads that you're gonna have on, you're not gonna be running in your underwear at the scouting in the scouting combine. You're gonna have weight on your shoulders. And I feel like if you put on the tape, and that player can go sideline to sideline as a defensive back, that player can run routes as a wide receiver. That player knows how to fundamentally get around blockers in the NFL as a defensive end, or chop block as a defensive lineman. That should be way more important than what he ran in a 40 or Yeah.
And I kind of, while you were saying that, I looked up top 10 players who did bad in the NFL Combine and turned out to have good NFL careers. Number 1, Tom Brady, of course. You know, make that argument, of course.
Yeah.
2, Drew Brees. 3, Terrell Suggs. 4, Navarro Bowman on the 49ers. 5, Joe Hayden. Elvis Dumervil. Justin Houston.
Orlando Brown.
Yeah, Orlando Brown, Anquan Bolden.
Orlando Brown had the worst after that scouting combine, when he was coming out. Orlando Brown was said to be the worst, had the worst combine in NFL history. And he just got his second contract. He's getting paid, I think, $16 million guaranteed by the Chiefs right now. Yeah. So that just goes to show that players who don't test well, you just got to turn on the tape.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we're getting a hold of ourselves here. So I just want to talk about the last pick before.
Yeah, go ahead.
Your list. My Jets taking Garrett Wilson at number 10. Okay. Mm-hmm. Here's my thought process. We took Sauce Gardner at number 4. And I was thinking in my head, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking either Jermaine Johnson or Jameson Williams. I wanted Jameson Williams more. But I wouldn't be mad if we took Jermaine Johnson, even though it's kind of a reach.
I'm surprised Jermaine Johnson fell.
Yeah,
I'm surprised he fell.
I was going to talk about that later, but I'll talk about it right now. I was very surprised. I literally told Anthony that like if the Jets trade up in the first round, I'd be low key mad because I wanted those 2 second-round picks.
Yeah.
But the fact that we traded up and got Jermaine Johnson.
You love Jermaine Johnson. If you go back and watch the show, you see Joe was pounding the table for Jermaine Johnson. Even at 4, you were pounding the table for Jermaine Johnson.
That's the thing. I was all right with getting him at 4, but the fact we got him at 26 is insane.
Yeah.
We got four top 20 players with our 4 picks. And that leaded up to the second round. That was insane. The fourth person I'm talking about is Breece Hall, the running back out of Iowa State. He's the best running back in the draft by far. And I think that Jermaine Johnson pick was the solidified pick that made us the top 3 best drafts in the NFL.
I agree. I feel like that trade back to the first round really helped solidify that point of they just had an elite draft, and I feel like they really did. I had him also in the elite category on my board of my post grades after the draft.
Yeah.
And did you see the report that they almost traded back into the first round and almost had 4 first-round picks to get Breece Hall?
Yes, I did, and I wouldn't have been mad at it. But I mean, I'm glad that we got him in the second round.
Yeah.
I'm very glad because we didn't have to give up those picks. And I feel like the Jets didn't get as many picks as because we really traded a lot in that draft, and we lost a lot of our picks. But I think we got really good quality players.
I think so too.
We got players from the first round to the fourth round. We disregarded the 5, 6, and 7 rounds.
If you hit on all 3 of those first round picks and don't do what the Raiders did back in 2019 and miss on all 3, they just by the way, the Raiders just declined their 5th-year options on Jonathan Abram, Josh Jacobs, and Cleveland Farrell. They all drafted 3 first-round picks in 2019, probably their biggest draft that they've had in a long time, and they blew it. And that set their franchise back maybe 4 years.
Yeah.
And
but they really rebounded though.
They did rebound. But they had to spend to fix those mistakes.
Yeah.
But it also helped that they drafted Max Crosby in that 4th round in that draft, and he ended up being a superstar. So that kind of made up for the Cleveland Farrell mistake. But at the same time, if you hit on Cleveland Farrell, where would you be right now?
Cleveland Farrell was a bust, by the way.
I haven't heard of anything since he's been in the league, honestly.
Yeah.
I thought Jonathan Abram was going to be good, though. Real quick, I thought he was going to be good. I thought he was going to be a solid safety in the league. Anyway.
All right. Let's get to the picks, right? Let's get to the
You want to go first?
Am I allowed to share my screen? Yes, I can. All right. And share. Can you see this? Wait, you can't see this thing in the background, right? All right, I'll do that. There we go. Okay. Let's talk about my S tier in the draft. Number 1, the Jets, which first of all, this is not in order, but I just wanted to put my Jets at number 1 because I'm a Jets fan, of course, as you guys know already. I talk about it 24/7.
Very biased, but yes, they did have a good draft.
I'm very biased.
You would have put them at number. You would have put them on elite no matter what.
I would have put I don't know. Well, maybe, but I thought with that Jermaine Johnson pick, it really was the solidified of the draft, and also I was very surprised by that Breece Hall pick too. But I'm not mad about it at all, and I'm actually very happy now that
you were pounding the table for Nakobe Dean.
I really wanted Nakobe Dean, but after that situation of his injury, I still wanted to get him in the later rounds. But I'm not as mad as I was before. I thought he was going to get picked 32 through 35 or something. I thought he was going to get picked right between there. The Giants, I don't know if you have the Giants pick, but they got Thibodeau, they got Evan Neal, right?
Their second round pick was shaky. I don't know why they drafted that receiver out of Kentucky.
Okay. I have all the picks. Yeah.
But he's a speedy guy, though. That receiver they drafted out of Kentucky is a very speedy guy.
Yeah.
And this might be a sign that maybe Kadarius Toney might be traded. Maybe Darius Slayton might be traded.
I think so, too.
And I feel like that was a very interesting pick and telling pick based off the reports this offseason coming out of Giants camp.
Yeah. And okay, so they got Wan'Dale Robinson, which was a questionable pick. I think Sky Moore was on the draft still, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. And then they got a guard, they got a corner, they got a tight end, a safety, a linebacker, a D tackle, an O lineman, and another linebacker. That kind of fulfills most of their needs that they really need. So I think that they had a pretty solid draft.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, honestly, this is my opinion. I think the Ravens had the best draft, and I think the Jets are number 2, and the Giants are number 3. That's if I had to rank them in order. So the Ravens, of course, Kyle Hamilton. They got I'm trying to scroll to it, but they had a really good draft, as you can see.
Yeah, I'll get on board with that. Yeah.
They got Tyler Linderbaum.
Draft out of all three.
Tyler Linderbaum, Ojabo, which Ojabo actually went to a school in New Jersey. If you didn't know that.
He did.
New Jersey represent. Travis Jones, and then Daniel Falele. I don't know.
I love that pick, by the way.
Okay, I'll give my.
That guy's a monster. 6'8", 350.
Yeah.
He came into the league and was immediately, he came when he got drafted by the Ravens. He was immediately the heaviest player in the NFL.
I don't think
this guy's gonna be a mauler.
I don't think he's gonna be as good as people say he is.
He's gonna be a stud.
I'm looking at his tape, and it looks like it just looks like he's too slow to get to block the DNs, the fast DNs in today's league. They're too fast, the DNs.
This guy's a finisher. This guy, once he gets his hands on you, you're not getting off.
I've seen comparisons to Mekhi Becton, but I think he's bigger than he's around the same size as Mekhi.
I was about to say I hope Falele could stay healthy based off his weight.
Yeah.
I think that might have been a big concern with his knees.
That's true too. With his weight, comes injuries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Now let's talk about the Eagles. Of course, they had that AJ Brown trade, which was very beneficial to them, I think. Even with that contract that they paid, it was all expensive, really expensive, but I think it's worth it in the long run. They got 4 years out of them, and the Eagles aren't in contention at all, but they're definitely going to make the playoffs next year with that weak NFC. I don't know how you feel.
I feel like the Eagles are going to win the division next year in that NFC East. I feel like they had a great draft. They traded for AJ Brown. Traded the 18th pick for AJ Brown. They got Nakobe Dean, who's a top 15 talent in my opinion.
I think he's
in the third round.
Really big steal in the draft.
They got AJ Brown. They got Nakobe Dean, who's a top 15 talent.
Yep.
And he fell to the third because of shoulder concerns that he wouldn't get surgery on it. But Howie Roseman came out after they made the pick and said that he's going to be good to go for rookie minicamp, which is a great sign for the Eagles. And I think this is going to be one of those picks where the whole NFL one day goes, how the hell did I pass up on this guy?
Yeah.
Multiple times.
Yep, multiple times. And he's a very good player. I mean, what can I say? That's what I wanted in the second round.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I like the Lions there. I feel like Jameson Williams, them trading up for Jameson Williams, really solidified that grade for them. Jameson Williams, if he was healthy, is the best wide receiver in this draft.
I agree. He's number one wide receiver, and then Garrett Wilson. But I like Garrett Wilson, but I wasn't too high on him before, but now I kind of am because I'm kind of biased. But Jameson Williams is the number one wide receiver in this draft, and you could clip this right now, but that's what's going to happen.
And I feel like the Lions also capitalized off the Jaguars' mistake and picked up Hutchinson.
Yep, that was another. I think that's a very good steal too, even though they're the second pick.
Yeah.
Do you have any disagreements with this list? Do you have any teams on here that?
Yeah, I feel like you have the Colts. I feel like the Colts should be an A, only because I know they didn't have a first round pick, but Alec Pierce out of Cincinnati, I feel like is going to be a great great pro. One day when he develops, his route running needs some work, but he's 6'3", 215. He runs a 4.4. You don't see guys that size and that run like that. And if you turn on his highlight reel, this guy runs past guys. And he goes up and also gets the ball.
Yeah.
He's a mismatch. And anywhere you put him, he can run up outside in the slot. Anywhere you can put him, he's fast enough for the slot, and he can line up on the outside, and he can go up and get it, especially in the red zone. He can be a huge threat in the red zone. His pro comp that he even said in his interview is AJ Green. And a pro comp that Louis Riddick also said during the draft was Jordy Nelson. And they showed highlights of Jordy Nelson going up and getting the ball as that kind of guy. And I feel like AJ Green's a perfect comparison, though, because AJ Green would run past guys in his prime. When he was in his prime, AJ Green ran past guys. He can go up and get the ball. He was a top 5 receiver in his prime. AJ Green.
He was one of my favorite.
Alec Pierce with developing in the Colts system, getting with Reggie Wayne, new wide receivers coach in Indianapolis. I feel like he can develop with Reggie, and I feel like he can be going maybe within the next 3 years, be a guy that teams have the game plan for going in.
If you want Reggie Wayne on the podcast, leave a comment down below. Maybe we'll get him on.
We're cooking.
Yeah, we're cooking
something up.
And didn't one of the draft picks for the Colts reposted our story on his story? That was something, getting our podcast up there. So, So I mean, the Colts. Honestly, I only put them at B category because they really didn't have any first or second round picks. And I'm going off this as like, will this make the team better? Like, how much did this improve the team?
Basically? They picked up Jelani Woods in the 3rd round. Jelani Woods is an athletic freak show.
All right.
He had an RAS score, relative athletic score of 10, which is the best of all tight ends since 1989. This guy is an athletic freak, and this guy tested off the charts. He's 6'7", 250, or 230, I believe. His playing weight is going to be 250, as Chris Ballard said. And I'm so excited to watch this guy play in Indianapolis' offense, because this offense that they run is very tight end friendly. They get people open in the middle of the field, and that's where Jelani Woods thrives, in the middle of the field, going up and getting the ball, separating from defensive backs. He's a mismatch for even linebackers, safeties, and when they run 2 tight ends with Jelani Woods and Mo Alley Cox, and you got Alec Pierce on the one side and Michael Pittman on the other, that's going to be a dangerous offense. And all those teams and that defense that they play with that set is going to have the game plan for those 4 receivers. And then you got Jonathan Taylor in the back end, and that opens up that running lane, and that's lethal. That is going to be a lethal offense in 2022, so look out for that.
Okay. Are there any teams on here that you disagree with? No,
I feel like the rest of them are fair. Since I probably would have the Bills in the B category.
Yeah.
I like the pick of James Cook.
I like James
FSU.
Cook.
I was debating. From Georgia, and I feel like he's gonna be really good in the NFL. His brother is Dalvin Cook.
I was debating putting the Bills on either B or C category, and I was also looking at it with the Panthers, and I'm pretty sure the Titans. I think. Okay. In your opinion, who had the worst draft in this NFL draft? You got the Patriots, Cowboys, the Vikings, the Commanders.
I think you're giving the Vikings I feel like you should give the Vikings a little more credit. I like their draft. Andrew Booth from Clemson that they picked in the 2nd round. The corner is going to be a stud, I feel like.
Okay, I'll give you that. I was debating C or D.
It's a good question. I feel like Chicago could have done better.
Chicago had a really bad draft.
The first pick was on day 2, and I feel like this is a very important draft for them to build around Justin Fields going into his second year.
I thought it was underwhelming, that draft.
I agree.
Yeah. That draft pick by the Patriots, Cole Strange, that was definitely a reach. But as you
knowing Bill is going to turn him into a Hall of Famer, and Cole Strange is going to be
saying.
An All-Pro within 2 years.
That's what I'm saying. Don't underestimate Bill Belichick. He knows how to draft linemen, but drafting a lineman like that should have been a 3rd-round pick in the first rounds. That was very interesting to see.
Yeah.
And the Cowboys, that was another interesting. They drafted another lineman, and they could have got Dean, but I guess because of the injury, he dropped. But I didn't really like the pick, and the Cowboys overall in general, I feel didn't have the best draft at all.
Yeah, I agree. I like their tackle pick in the first round. I feel like they needed
definitely
that. Lyle Collins going to Cincinnati to protect Joe Burrow now. So I feel like that was a good hole filled by them. But the rest of the draft, I agree, was a little underwhelming. But you never know. The draft is the inexact science, and we won't know who had the worst draft really until probably 2 years down the road. All we can do is give grades on this draft.
Just from a bird's eye view.
From like a personal perspective. And
I was debating on putting the Cardinals in C or B only because of the Marquise Brown trade. I was debating on that.
I put him in B. I put him in B because of that.
Yeah, because of the Marquise Brown trade.
Right.
I don't think Marquise Brown is as good as people say he is, but that's just me. I mean, he's all right.
I feel like once it was a little underwhelming in Baltimore because I feel like the system didn't fit him very well.
I mean, it couldn't
help. I feel like once he gets to Arizona, Cliff Kingsbury is going to be able to free him up more because there's DeAndre Hopkins, there's Zach Ertz, and AJ Green also.
Yeah.
AJ Green's got brought back, and there's formidable wide receivers already on that roster. And I feel like Marquise Brown's going to be one-on-one a lot more than he was at Baltimore because he's not going to be the first option anymore.
Sure. Okay, I think we should move on to your drafts because I want to see yours. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and let's share your screen because I'm very interested to see. So I knew you had the Jets in your S tier. Okay, here it is. Here, scroll down a little bit because just to get a better view of it. Oh, there we go. We're good. Okay. Explain your top 3.
So, of course, I had Philly 1. I love what they did, not only in the draft, but trading for A.J. Brown during the draft. They had 3 first-round picks going in. They could have done anything they wanted to. They really controlled the draft. And, they showed that by trading their 18th pick for A.J. Brown. They got him another weapon for Jalen Hurts. I like the Jordan Davis pick a lot with Fletcher.
I do like him.
With the future uncertain for Fletcher Cox, I feel like Jordan Davis is going to be a formidable presence within that defensive line, probably starting year 1. Because Fletcher Cox has shown that, this late into his career, he struggles late in the season. And I feel like with Jordan Davis, it's going to be fresh legs for Fletcher Cox as they rotate together.
As old people do, they get slower and they soon fade away into retirement.
Especially with the tread that Fletcher Cox has on his legs and the amount of hits that he's taken and all that. And,
I honestly think that the contract for AJ Brown was very expensive. I think he got $25 million.
That's what it was going to take. That's what it was going to take. One team was going to do it, and that fan base is. If I was an Eagles fan, I wouldn't have an issue with what the Eagles did there.
I don't think the Jets should have done it. I don't think they should have paid AJ Brown if they were to get him $25 million. So Pat's on Joe Douglas for that. And I don't know. I mean, we'll see what he does with the Eagles. I think a new fit is definitely good for him. I mean, I thought he was good on the Titans, but maybe he'll be better on the Eagles with the weak division.
So further with the Eagles draft, Nakobe Dean in the 3rd round, that's a steal of the draft. They got they really had 4 first-round. They really had 2 first-round picks in this draft, but they got one in the 3rd round
Basically,
for great value. Every team was so scared because of his shoulder again, and I feel like they got really good value for Jacoby Dean. That's gonna be one of the steals of the draft that GM is gonna look at 10 years down the road, maybe 5 years down the road, and say, I made a mistake passing on him multiple times. The Jets, really all 3 first-round picks, Gardner, Wilson, and Johnson. I feel like all 3 are going to be instant impacts in that in the Jets this year. The Ravens.
Sorry. Can I go back to the Jets?
Yeah.
At number 10 though, I feel I wouldn't have been as like I was kind of disappointed that we didn't trade for Debo. I was very sad. But
yeah, but I feel like, but you have no idea what Garrett Wilson is going to turn into. And
I know.
I think I would have bet on Garrett Wilson over Debo as well.
Yeah.
Instead of paying Debo $30 million, you know.
That's true. I like the rookie contract, and he's soaking in on me. I think that, like, if there was no Debo rumors, I would have loved the pick of Garrett Wilson. Either or Jameson Williams. I would have wanted Jameson Williams more.
Yeah.
Garrett Wilson was kind of my 3rd option, but he's starting to grow on me. So I like that. And also Breece Hall, I talked about it again. He's a first-round talent. We got the number 1 running back in the draft, arguably. We got the number 1, arguably, corner in the draft. We got arguably the number 1 wide receiver in the draft. And we got a top 3 edge rusher, arguably. That's S-tier draft for the Jets.
So moving on to the Ravens, I love what they did. Daniel Falele, I feel like is going to be a stud at right tackle or left tackle, whichever one the Ravens decide to put him at for that team, for that offense, to protect Lamar Jackson. I love that they picked first round pick. It's blanking on me right now.
Kyle Hamilton.
I love Kyle Hamilton. He can run sideline to sideline.
Linderbaum.
And Tyler Linderbaum.
Number 1 center in the draft.
Yeah, definitely.
He's gonna be a problem.
He's like the Creed Humphrey of last year's draft.
Yep.
And Creed Humphrey was a day 1 starter for the Chiefs. I feel like Tyler Linderbaum will be plug and play as well. Jacksonville, I would have had him at elite if they didn't
draft
Trayvon Walker.
Yep.
Otherwise, I like the Devin Lloyd pick late in the 1st round. I feel like he's gonna be a stud. Chad Muma was another underrated linebacker coming out in this draft. The Colts I already spoke on. I really love what they did with the offense and getting more weapons for Matt Ryan. The Lions, Aiden Hutchinson, I mean, capitalizing on the Jaguars' mistake is classic. But Detroit also has been a clown show, so hopefully Hutchinson works out for them.
Question.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your draft board, your tier list, and I'm looking at the Giants in the B tier.
Yeah,
that's kind of a hot take because everyone has them in the S tier. Basically, they gave the Giants an A+ draft for most.
I feel like I love their 1st round. I would have put them in elite after the if the draft ended after the 1st round, but from 2nd round on, I feel like it was a little underwhelming. I don't feel like I feel like there were better receivers on the board than the Kentucky wide receiver.
Okay.
At that pick in the 2nd round, there was Sky Moore still on the board, Alec Pierce still on the board, George Pickens was still on the board. I feel like there were better receivers in that spot, so that's why I bumped him down a little bit.
I would have taken Pickens if I was the Giants.
Yeah, Pickens also had some off the field issues as well, so that's another reason why he fell. He also went to Pittsburgh. He's gonna be Kenny Pickett's weapon for a long time in Pittsburgh. I also have them in the B category.
How do you feel about Kenny Pickett?
I think Kenny Pickett deserved the 1st round to get picked in the 1st round. I really liked him. I don't really care about his hand size, honestly. If he showed he could throw the football in college, he could probably throw it in the NFL. He played. I mean, he did wear 2 gloves, but he played in cold weather, and that didn't really seem to bother him. So I don't see why it's going to bother him in the NFL. I feel like it's going to translate.
I think honestly, I'm looking at this draft, and other than the ones I pointed out, again, it's pretty decent. I thought the Colts should be in B, and I thought the Saints should be in B or C. That's my opinion. Other than that,
the only reason why I love the Chris Olave pick. a lot. I feel like that's going to help out Jameis Winston coming back off his torn ACL from last season. I feel like that's another weapon for him. They got Michael Thomas on the other side as well.
I think Chris Olave is all right. I'm not the biggest fan of Olave only because he played beside Garrett Wilson, and that could just be the fact that Garrett Wilson was so good that it made him also better too.
Yeah.
But I mean, we'll see what happens with him and Michael Thomas. You never know. He might have. I might be wrong.
Right.
Texans, I feel like should be in B. Cardinals should be in B or C.
The reason why I had the Texans in the A category was because they went and got John Mechie in the second round.
Okay.
I feel like that was probably going to be one of the steals of the draft. He's going to be ready for training camp, reportedly, and that's going to be a huge get for the Texans. I feel like in their future. I think they got a lot of good cornerstone pieces to build off of in this draft. They picked a lot of SEC. Most of their draft, I think all of their draft actually was SEC players.
Which is pretty much the best division in college football.
And the Texans couldn't afford to take chances because, I mean, they were down to the duds last year on the roster, and so they had to really like milk this draft.
Yeah,
I feel like they did. I feel like if Derek Stingley stays healthy, I feel like they're gonna be a good team this year.
I disagree. I think they're gonna be not
a good team. I'm sorry, not a good team. I feel like a good pick for Stingley. A good pick.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely Derek Stingley's definitely a difference maker on the defense, but I don't think the Texans are ready yet to be that playoff team, especially with this AFC. I think the Jets are definitely up there now. I think the Jets are definitely up there now with the last not the last selection, but the last like order in the wild card. I think they got that last spot. If it's like up there with them, the Browns, we'll see what the Browns do with Deshaun Watson. You never know with that allegation. But I think right there, the Jets are going to be there just because of this draft. That draft was the turning point. The 2021 and 22 draft was the turning point for the Jets. And we have a bunch of young players that are going to turn out this year.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that's good. I feel like this draft was really important for the Jets organization and Joe Douglas, personally for Joe Douglas, actually. And I feel like he needed one of these drafts to prove that he is that guy and can build that team for the Jets. And I feel like I feel like they did hit on all three first rounders. We'll see, but in my opinion, they did. And
Breece Hall.
That's gonna accelerate their rebuild, and hopefully Zach Wilson can stay. Hopefully Zach Wilson is that guy and continues to ascend in that Matt LaFleur offense. Not Matt LaFleur. What's his brother's name?
No, it is Matt LaFleur, I think.
No, Matt LaFleur's head coach.
Mike LaFleur?
Mike LaFleur. Thank you. Mike LaFleur. And the Mike LaFleur offense. So
yeah, and hopefully they have that Bengals turnarounds that the Bengals had a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's a stretch. It's the Jets, but weird things have happened.
I mean, if you think about it, a couple of years ago, you could say the same thing. It's the Bengals. The Bengals weren't good.
That's a good point, but I mean, again,
the Bengals were never good.
Joe Burrow's a different kind of talent, and Jamar Chase is a different kind of talent.
Yeah, but
that kind of talent was not available in this draft. Like that is like superstar level. We'll see if these guys end up being superstars, but these guys will be plug and play and be very, very productive players year one for the Jets, and hopefully they turn into superstars.
I mean, I think this is a very talented draft overall. I mean, there was stars, but I think overall this was a talented draft all around.
A scout said, I was listening to a scout on YouTube, and he was saying the meat on the bone for this draft was the end of the second round to the end of the fourth.
Yeah.
So
that's where the Jets have
a lot of those productive players. You're going to see a lot of those players in the next couple of years that you see and that turn into be recognizable names are going to be from those rounds.
Yeah, and we'll see what happens. I'm very excited for this draft, and I think we should wrap up this great video that we had with a very eventful draft.
Right, and we also want to touch on real quick Lamar Jackson, friend of the show, Lamar Jackson.
Friend of the show. We already know him. We called him up yesterday.
Yeah, called him up. He's doing good. Says that hi to everybody.
And we were talking about the Marquise Brown trade with him too. So
now you're just lying.
I think we're just overreacting. He viewed our story on Instagram, but still, I'll take it. I'll say he's my friend.
That was really cool.
That was really cool. Show.
That was really cool.
Yeah. It was, yeah. And hopefully more in the future will come to be. Right?
We got some stuff cooking up in the back, behind the scenes.
Hopefully.
Some stuff cooking.
Hopefully it happens, but we're trying to make it happen. We'll see.
Yep. And once we know more, I feel like this is gonna be really, really this is. I feel like we're on the ascending path for the show.
I think we're trying to go upward.
We're only going up from here.
I think so too. Okay. All right. I think we're or done. Finito.
Okay.
Finito.
This was the Jiggy and Joe show.
This was the Jiggy and Joe show. If you like our podcast, go to Instagram, go to Twitter, follow us there. We'll post updates on our videos. We'll post an update on this video. So leave a like down below. And what?
Sorry to cut you off. We'll also be. I want to fit in that we'll be back on Monday.
Yeah, we'll be back on Monday. Throw a comment down below if you disagree with any of our takes. I know Max had a couple of bad takes, but I don't know. I have to deal with it. So, I mean, he throws bad takes all the time. So I think I'm the smart one, but
wow. All
right. it's whatever. It's all good.
All right.
You'll just have to live with it. Okay. I think we're done.
All right, guys, and hope you enjoyed the show today, and we will see you on Monday.